I used to have tarantulas back in the day. They were my little buds, my little guys. Um, this was back when I lived with my father, actually. He had a history of taking in a variety of uh, different animals. He had a lot of experience taking care of a variety of animals, and he had an arrangement set up with a lot of the local animal shelters and that sort of thing. Because keeping exotic pets is generally an ethically questionable thing to do, just because they're not they're not domesticated, and they don't typically live the healthiest, most fulfilling lives in captivity for most exotic pets, right? They shouldn't be pets. But sometimes these things happen, and the fact is, once a pet has been taken and brought all the way to Michigan, it's not exactly feasible to take it back to where it came from. And so, my family, for a long time, we had an arrangement with various animal shelters in the area where if they had a really weird animal brought in as someone's former pet that they didn't know how to take care of and they didn't know what to do with and they knew wouldn't get adopted by someone who knew how to take care of it, they would reach out and they'd be like, hey, do you think you can take care of a possum? And that's how we had a pet possum for a while. His name was Brown Jenkins, and he was very, very sweet. He was a little dude. I loved him. It's how we ended up with a huge variety of snakes, including actually an albino Burmese python for a while. Can talk more about that lovely friend at another time, but his name was Zool, but we mostly referred to him as Big Yellow. Burmese pythons are one of the largest varieties of snakes in the world. Males typically reach around 18 feet long, females around 21, and they are very, very heavy snakes. They're not as long as some of them, but they're very heavy, very chunky snakes. And Burmese pythons are unfortunately popular as pets. And I say unfortunate because even more so than other snakes, a Burmese python needs so much space. They need so much space. And they need good food and a really solid setup, and people just don't give them that. So many people will get a Burmese python and keep it in a small tank that it can't even fully stretch out in. And Zool was one of those. He was purchased by someone who kept him in a very small tank and who engaged in a really, really despicable practice known as power feeding, where you feed a snake more than it needs to cause it to grow bigger faster. But typically, that severely hampers the snake's overall lifespan and actually prevents it from reaching its full length. And so we were reached out to by a shelter who had come upon this Burmese python. And what did we do? My father bought a bunch of lumber and built a custom tank that was half of our living room. We converted half of our living room into a tank for this snake. And we gave him a bunch of places to hide and things to climb on and climb under. And we did everything we could to make the time that he had left as comfortable as possible. Yes, a DIY tank. And so we had this big old snake in his big old tank, and he was genuinely the most chill snake I have ever seen. Holding him was so cozy, and he did enjoy being held because, of course, a human body is very warm, and he wants to seek out a nice, cozy, warm place. And so you would let him just flop over your lap, and he would kind of wrap around your shoulders a little bit and get all cozy. He never bit anyone. He was just a chill guy. And he wasn't around for very long because, again, power feeding does that to a snake, but it was a genuine honor to get to be one of the people taking care of him, and to see over time as the scars on his body from being contorted in this small space for so long, to watch those scars fade and to see him become a nice, healthy snake who was very cozy and very loved in the time that he had left. He was a good lad. There are so many wonderful animals in the world, and so many of them are genuinely lovely to have as pets, but so many of them you really shouldn't.